Well, hello. I haven't even gotten to read to you guys yet in the one and only Bob. I'm very excited. I have to get my Bob voice right, though. I'm trying to practice because, this is a new book, so I haven't practiced this one yet. You're my first audience. All right. We left off. It's a fourth day of reading One and Only Bob, and we're going to start with The Art of Human Watching. Here we go. By the time we reach the park, the sky is definitely in a bad mood. Gray clouds galloping like panicked horses, the nervous scent of rain on the way, the kind that makes you antsy in your own skin. When we get near the employee entrance, I hop onto Julia's backpack, like always. We enter through the special gate where George shows his ID, checks in, and says hi to the staff. Pet dogs aren't allowed in the park. Natch. Foxes, wolves, jackals, my dog cousins, they are. But in my opinion, even though they're technically part of my extended family, they're nothing like dogs. Only dogs have perfected the art of human watching. The smartest thing we have ever did was figure out how important the human gaze is. So often, when we follow our owner's eyes, we're rewarded with something amazing. A smelly sock, a glazed donut that's fallen on a smelly sock. We follow every blink, every sidelong glance. We see it, whatever it is, before the humans do. We understand before they do. And if there's a glazed donut involved, we eat it before they do. Next chapter is called Puppy Eyes. It's mid-morning, still pretty early. There aren't many visitors around yet. We've got a meeting in 20, George tells a couple of co-workers, Hank and Sonia, who groan. Just a quick one. Going over the contingency plans one last time in case there's any flooding. Well, during the last hurricane, a small part of the park flooded, mostly near Reptileville. George helped move cages. He came home smelling like cottonmouths and copperheads. It was all I could do to not barf. Weather Service just issued a tornado watch, Hank says. I thought we were just having a hurricane, Julia says. We are, Gus, but sometimes tornadoes are spawned during hurricanes, George explains. Julia frowns. But a watch means maybe, not for sure, right? Yeah, George says, but I want you to head home, just in case. Please, Dad, just 10 more minutes. Julia's using a special voice she reserves for those moments when she really, really wants something from her parents. I guess kids manipulate their moms and dads the same way dogs manipulate humans. I don't know, George begins. I promised Bob. I figure that's my cue to do. Pop up my head and look out and look adorable. So I do. Hey, Bob, says Hank. Sonia reaches over and scratches my ears. I'm pretty popular around the park. I give George my best puppy eyes and he caves. All right, 10 minutes. Meet me back here. Puppy eyes. Works every time. Next chapter is called Mr. Oog. Here's how I figure puppy eyes got their start. Cave humans were sitting around a fire wearing mammoth fur and grunting about how there was nothing on TV because TV hadn't been invented yet. And some wily wolf thought, whoa, they've got leftover mammoth meat. And he probably whimpered and cowered and did a tummy display and looked pathetic enough that Mr. Oog finally tossed him a bone. And soon enough, a few zillion years later, Voila! Man's best friend. After all that time, there's a thing like a magnetic attraction between dogs and humans. We've studied them for so long, we can read every twitch, every sigh. Suppose it was easier than chasing down mammoths. I get it, I do. The behind the ear scratch, the food in a fancy bowl, the bed by the fireplace. Got to admit that Julia's pretty fun to hang out with, and I'm grateful, really, I am. And her family took me in. Still, I don't need them. You need someone. Eventually, they let you down, and you end up feeling like a real doofus. Next chapter is called The Park. As Julia walks, I sneak peeks out of her backpack like I always do. We pass the meerkat family poking out of their den holes like a bunch of whack-a-moles, getting ready to get whacked at the mall. I see the flashy flamingos with their one-legged balancing act and the terrifyingly beautiful tigers. Even their cute cubs give me the willies. Families, I've noticed, take on a lot of different shapes. Jim and Joe, the penguins, adopted an abandoned egg, and they are the sweetest doting parents you ever saw. I see it with the humans at the park, too. Families of all shapes and sizes and colors and genders, and yep, they all seem to do just fine. We round a corner past the sea otter alley. Oliver and Olivia are floating calmly on their backs, holding each other's paws. It's pretty adorable, I have to admit. But me, I don't need the trouble that comes with family. Babies puking, toddlers whining, spouses nagging. Talk about a design flaw. Here we see Julia with Bob in her backpack walking around through the zoo somewhere, I guess. Next chapter is called Change. No, speaking of Bob, there goes Dobby and Izzy. They're going to bark more. Hold on. I'm going to pause. Whoop. Next chapter is Change. The park's pretty big. Lots of twisty paths and fascinating smells. All the parts have names. There's the African Aviary, the Outback, Penguin Cove, Lemurland. It's like puzzle pieces of the world. A little Africa here, a little Asia there. Dogs, you can find us pretty much everywhere. Our territory is Earth. As long as we're hooked up with humans, that is. Along the shadowy paths, volunteer guides will answer your questions. They'll tell you about how animals used to roam one part of the world or another until things changed. Things change. That's one thing I've figured out. Don't ever assume a little patch of the planet belongs to you. Things change. Boxes go flying. Next chapter is called My Inner Wolf. On our way, we always stop by the wolf habitat. Julia loves wolves, probably because they remind her of me. You have to look hard, maybe squint a little, but if you try, you can catch a hint of my inner wolf. It's in my eyes mostly. Also, in my distinguished profile. I dream I'm a wolf sometimes. And when I wake up, I'm panting and my fur's alert and I'm feeling, yeah, the world could hurt me, but I could hurt the world right now even harder. Like there's a dangerous, hard part of me chained inside, struggling to go free and just, I don't know, get even. Then I go and see what's for breakfast. Next chapter is called Kimu. There's a gray wolf at the park who makes me a little jittery. Jittery as in I sometimes worry he might like to eat me. His name is Kimu. And we struck up a conversation when a mutual acquaintance of ours, a mockingbird called Mitch, introduced us one day. Like Nutwit, Mitch likes to taunt me because I'm domesticated. Gives me a lot of grief about how free he is, soaring stringless over the whole town. I'm not the only one who's pampered, I say one day. I mean, look at Kimu. He's not exactly running wild. Well, as soon as the words were out of my mouth, I regretted them. And when I looked at Kimu's, I could kill you with one quick bite expression, I really regretted them. In any case, I said, moving the subject along, I've lived wild. It ain't a picnic for a dog. What's it like? Kimu asked, and he moved closer to the edge of his domain. He had a strange odor, intense and scary, and a little bit intoxicating. Well, I was just a pup, I said. I was abandoned by the side of a highway. Kimu was listening intently. Must have been tough. All I could think of was food and water. I didn't like the catch in my voice. An owl got me. Those guys are fierce, Kimu said. Can't hear them coming. I know, right? And I relaxed a little. I hate owls, said Mitch. I hate them with a passion. They eat birds, you know. So do wolves. Oops, I'm messing up my voices. I don't know this book as well. So do wolves, said Kimu, giving Mitch a meaningful look. So you were wild once? I asked Kimu. Never. Born and raised in captivity. Suzu over there, she was. She's told us stories that would curl your fur. Honestly, it's nice to have a roof over my head. It's tough out there, man. It really is. It's really tough. I suppose, said Kimu. I looked at him, and for the first time, I wondered if I really did have any wolf in me at all. He was a majestic animal with teeth that could shred a tree trunk. I'm also majestic, but definitely more portable, with teeth that could mangle a pencil with enough time and effort. Hey, Bob, Mitch said, do dogs howl the way wolves do? Of course we do. So let's hear something, a duet maybe. He fluttered his wings and revealed startling patches of white. Do you know Talk to the Animals? They play that on the carousel. Go away, Mitch, said Kimu with just the right amount of menace in his voice. Oh, come on, just a little howling. Pretend there's a moon. Pretend you're free. Pretend. Kimu growled, and so did I. His was pretty impressive, guttural, deep. It spoke of depth and dismemberment and all kinds of unpleasant bird nightmares. I growled too. It spoke of me being mildly peeved. Still, Mitch got the message, and he disappeared, a blur of wings. Actually, I've never howled at the moon, I admitted. Me either, said Kimu. I feel kind of silly doing it here. The next chapter is called Enrichment. We're almost to my favorite spot in the park. The great thing for me is that one corner of Gorilla World juts up against Elephant Odyssey, the area where Ruby lives. A low stone wall separates the two spaces, and there's a moat on the elephant side. The sections connect like two slices of pie, and my secret spot is right in the center where I can hang out with my crew. Ivan and Ruby both have access to indoor habitats, which is great when the weather isn't cooperating. The indoor space for gorillas, it ain't bad. I call it Gorilla Villa. It has tons of ropes and hammocks and branches to climb. Humans watch through a thick wall of glass while the young gorillas run around like kids at recess. But whenever Julia and I visit, we can almost always find Ivan and Ruby outside. We trudge up a little rise, though it isn't much of a hill. We live in a pretty flat part of the world. From there, I can see just about everything: the park, the parking lot, the creek, and far beyond that, every now and then, I can even catch a glimpse of the ocean. My secret place is a little hard to get to, right near the keeper's shed, nicely hidden by the trees and bushes. Under a big magnolia tree, there's a bench shaped like a gorilla holding out his arms. Julia likes to sit there and draw. Sometimes she does her homework, which smells like frustration with a hint of eraser. Whenever I visit, Julia props me up on the stone wall that separates Ruby's world from Ivan's. Visitors can't see me, and the keepers pretend not to see me. If they caught any other dog there, he'd be out in a heartbeat. But Ivan and Ruby and I, we have history. I make them happy. I'm what you might call enrichment. At the park, they try to keep the animals engaged with surprises and challenges and changes to their environment. That's what enrichment is all about. The gorillas get watermelons to demolish and boxes to hide in and markers for drawing. And the elephants get sprinklers and flavored water and elephant sized rubber balls. Not exactly like a day in the real jungle, of course, but the keepers try as hard as they can to make life interesting. For Ivan and Ruby, I'm the ultimate enrichment. I'm their best pal. Next chapter is called Walls and Bad Guys. Julia takes me out of her backpack and I settle onto the wide stone wall. It's my favorite place on the planet because it means I can see Ivan and Ruby. But I also kind of hate it. Walls will do that to you. Ivan, being Ivan, is a mellow kind of guy, takes the good with the bad, only gets angry when he really needs to. And when I complain about the walls at the park, he says, "Walls keep the animals in, but they also keep the bad guys out." Now, of course, gorillas don't have a whole lot of bad guys to deal with, elephants either. So humans step in to fill the void. Dogs, sometimes it feels like we have enemies galore. Everyone wants a piece of us. Humans treat us badly. Cars really treat us badly. They have it in for us. We even get eaten by coyotes, which is kind of like having your cousin invite you over for dinner and then inform you that you're the main course. Although I'd probably just be an appetizer. Anyway, after those 27 years stuck in the mall, Ivan is one of those glass half full kind of guys when it comes to the walls surrounding him. Glad to be with the others of his own kind, cared for by smart and loving humans. But I'm more of a water bowl, half empty kind of guy. Every time I leave Ivan and Ruby, I'm painfully aware that I can leave. Ivan's address is Gorilla World, and Ruby's is Elephant Odyssey. There's a little picture of, looks like Julia and her dad. I don't know who else that is. I don't remember them ever talking about the mom. Oh, I guess so. Sarah. I guess she's in this book. Okay. And me? I guess my address is the same as Julia and George and Sarah's, 1249 Hinman Avenue. I mean, of course it is. I've been living there a whole year now. It is. And yet, sometimes I still wake up at night and think, gotta find shelter, gotta find safety, gotta find somewhere to belong. I guess I just don't want to get too comfortable. That's hard being a dog on the run, isn't it? I like old Bob. He's got grit. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed today's reading. Sorry about some of my voice mess ups. Sometimes the books are kind of new to me too. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. See you tomorrow.